Alright, what's going on, you fam? Raiyuden here. Believe it or not, but the 5th year anniversary is just around the corner. Isn't it hard to believe that this game is now 5 years old? And with that is a ton of excitement. Everyone is releasing their own little prediction video for what we could see, and I wanted to chime in as well. It's always fun coming up with some interesting theories and then looking back to this to see how accurate we were, whether or not our judgment made sense. So I'm going to go ahead and throw in my little predictions for what kind of premium units we could see for the 5th year anniversary. Now, if we look back to the beginning of this year, there were a couple changes Legends made when it came to their releases. The most notable one being that Ultras have become far more frequent. And I guess later in the video we can talk about how that may have an impact on the banner format as well as the release schedule as part of the anniversary. But I wanted to talk about the tag at the beginning because I think it does play a critical part in what we could see as part of the anniversary. We saw the restructuring of a new tag called Universe Rep. We saw the release of Ultra Hit, MVP 17. We saw Master Roshi with his cool Mafuba mechanic, and we saw, of course, the Revival UI Goku, a pretty damn strong lineup to power up this new tag that they made. And I think that this could be a clue for what the first part of the anniversary could be, and I think it's going to be an LF. I think it's going to start off with a legendary finish character, and I think we can all agree that at this point in the game, it just makes sense for us to get a tag Goku and Frieza character. I mean, the Tournament of Power still has so much to be explored, but I think the finale would be the best potential opener for the 5th year anniversary, because not just from a release schedule standpoint, not from a tag restructuring standpoint, but from a logistics standpoint, because the first premium character also serves as the opening for the 5th year anniversary. So including the app icon change, the description, the teaser, getting people excited, they have to start off with a bang. And I think Goku and Frieza tag switch LF is without a doubt one of the hypest things that they could do. And I know people might be a little bit tired of tag switch characters and the tag switch mechanic in general at this point, but I think that the Boo Duo introduced a cool little spin to how the tag switch works. Those guys have to tag out 3 times in order to go into the last stand mode, which means that we could probably see something similar with the Goku and Frieza, because remember, that finale could not have happened without Android 17's help. So I'm thinking there is a strong possibility that they could make a tag switch character where a unique gauge will fill, and if it does fill, very similar to how Ultra Gogeta Blue is a counter to blast cards, what if it introduces a counter to strike cards? So what happens is your opponent attacks you, the unique gauge goes off, and what happens? Android 17 intervenes with his 3 beam attacks. I think that's something that they would probably like to do with the tag switch mechanic, and it would be super strong, a good opening to the 5th year anniversary in terms of a mechanic and, you know, like a character standpoint. I think it just makes sense that they would do something like that. I'm just spitballing ideas and you know, kits and whatever, but I think tag switch Goku and Frieza as the opener just makes the most sense. That is my own prediction. Now for part 2, this is where it gets controversial. I personally believe that the 5th year anniversary is going to see a drastic change in the release schedule. We often saw the same format. It is part 1, you get 1 LF and maybe a 1% sparking. Part 2, it's 1 LF, 1% sparking. Part 3 is an Ultra character. They always reserve Ultra characters as like the dessert, the finale to everything, but I think the release of monthly Ultras has changed their view on what Ultras are, and I think in this anniversary they are going to up the number of Ultras that we see. If it's going to be a 5th year anniversary Ultra, there's no doubt in my mind it has to be an exciting character, and I'm sure you guys all remember, but just a few months ago we got probably what is the hypest celebration of 2022, and that was the Dragon Ball Super Superhero Celebration. We just got a new piece of media. We got Dragon Ball Super Beast Gohan, we got Pan, everyone knows Pan at this point, we got the Piccolo. I'm thinking part 2 is going to be an Ultra character, and who better than Orange Piccolo? there's no doubt in my mind they deliberately did not release him alongside the Beast Gohan because they saved him for a more appropriate moment. Now, Orange Piccolo didn't really have any sort of finishing move. Granted, anything can become an LF, but I think that introduction of Piccolo, following into wherever and transforming into Orange Piccolo and gradually flowing back up to battle would be a very cool Ultra intro, and I think an appropriate place for him as well. We've seen so many antagonist Ultras at this point. I would like to see a hero get one, and Orange Piccolo feels fitting for me. Another movie saga buff, I know, a bit rough, but Orange Piccolo has to show up at some point, and I guess you could argue that there's always going to be an LF iteration of a character before an Ultra version of it, just because, going from Ultra to LF feels like you're regressing. But it could be that they're changing up their formula just as part of the 5th year anniversary and keeping things unique. I think part 2 could be an Orange Piccolo as my own little prediction. Could be an Ultra, could be an LF. I think it would be more interesting if they made him an Ultra, given that they're trying to up the release schedule for these Ultra characters. Now, part 3. This is where normally I think these celebrations would have come to an end, but I think instead of just doing part 1, part 2, part 3, they're going to make it a 4-part celebration, but things are going to be a little bit more condensed. I don't remember how long the 4th year anniversary went on for. I think it was roughly 2 months, but I do remember we were all joking about how they kept talking about how long it was going, and it felt like even the developers knew and felt that it was dragging on for a bit too long. So instead of just dragging things out for 2 months, instead they're going to make it 4 parts, separated by 2 weeks each, still 2 months, but it feels a little bit more packed with things to do. That's what I think is going to happen. In between the different weeks, of course, you can release like an LF Zenkai, a 1% Zenkai for something exciting. You can do that, sure. But I think part 3 still has to measure up to the hype of the previous 2 releases. Orange Piccolo and Tag Goku and Frieza are without a doubt very exciting characters for a wide variety of different players. I think part 3 is going to be the Universal Spirit Bomb, Kid Goku. If you guys remember, this is taking inspiration from what Dokkan did, and we already know at this point that the Legends development team and the Dokkan development team either inspire one another or talk about the releases. We just recently saw the Buu duo. This is a Dokkan card. It's not the exact same as the 8th year anniversary card. This is part of the goodness, how many years ago did this card come out? I think it was 2-3 years ago, where they had the the dual mechanic. If you fought with another Super Saiyan 3 character, you get a cool new 18 key animation. I think this one is going to be similar to that, but they're going to borrow the Universal Spirit Bomb GT Kid Goku. It's going to expand on this last stand mechanic, but I think that's going to be a super exciting 3rd LF character. And GT got its buffs, but it already feels like GT is starting to feel, getting pushed out in terms of overwhelming power from these characters. And I'd like to see them continue getting semi-frequent releases. And I think this would be a super hype character for everyone to have. Remember that this character worked drastically different versus the Buu duo in Dokkan, where they couldn't. The Buu duo couldn't attack; they're just sponging hits. But the GT duo, I guess. Actually, it may not have to be entirely different, because the way that this character could work in Legends is actually something that already exists. With the 4th year anniversary, Dragon Fist paired alongside Tapion, Tapion introduced this idea of doing AoE damage to the entire team when Tapion is defeated. It was a pretty cool mechanic. I think they could do the same thing here. In Dokkan, it's procced by a revival, where Kid Goku launches a Spirit Bomb and does a drastic amount of damage. What if it's the same idea where you do your tag switches out and then something procs, and if the character is defeated, in this case the GT Vegeta, then Goku is going to launch the Spirit Bomb, which does a drastic amount of damage to the entire enemy team. Your character is still defeated, and you won't be able to defeat any of the bench characters, but the character that gets slammed with the Spirit Bomb does become defeated. So same idea as how Hirudegan worked with Tapion. Upon death, does a massive amount of damage to the entire enemy team. I think that's how that would work, and it would be pretty cool. it could behave entirely different, but I think that would be a cool third part LF character. I know GT mains would be happy, and I think all players would be excited for that because it was a pivotal moment for GT as well. Still maintaining the same level of hype as the others, but also still providing buffs for GT. So Universal Spirit Bomb, Kid Goku, Part 3. Now this is the finale. I think Part 4 is where they finally wrap things up because, I mean, no matter what, given the number of releases, I think it would drag on for far too much. This is where it could get a bit tricky, but I think without a doubt, it's probably going to be Ultra Vegeta Blue. Let's be realistic here. Almost every single anniversary premium character has been some form of Vegito, with the 3rd year anniversary being the only exception to that, where we got Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. So let's replace that Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta with that Universal Spirit Bomb Kid Goku as sort of a GT buff. But then we go ahead and release the Ultra VB. It's kind of just, I know, it sucks that it's a lot of Ultras and Fusion Warriors get another Ultra, but let's be realistic here. It just makes the most money. Fusion Warriors is such a premium tag, but they're also the hypest thing in the game. There's a reason why they already have 3 Ultras, let's be honest here. It just prints money. So Ultra Vegeta Blue is who I think could be the 4th part, but there are some pieces you could swap out. A lot of you have been talking about the possibility of getting an Ultra Father-Son Kamehameha Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. If that were to happen, I would replace Orange Piccolo from Part 2 as that Gohan being the Ultra. And then the Part 3 LF, I would swap with Orange Piccolo instead of it being the Universal Spirit Bomb GT Kid Goku. If it's the FSK for Part 2, he's going to be an Ultra, and the Part 3 is no longer going to be GT, but instead is going to be Orange Piccolo as an LF. It kind of aligns a little bit better with the whole, they always release an LF first before they release the same character as an Ultra, but at the same time, it still retains an extreme amount of hype. The only reason why I'm not leaning towards this is because this game has such a dangerous bias towards Gohan characters that the thought of an Ultra Gohan released as part of the anniversary is terrifying, because everyone says it, Beast Gohan pretty much set a new standard for the entire game. The guy was the most perfect character in the entire game, and quite frankly, I call him a hidden Ultra because he kind of was. He literally does everything. I'm not sure if that treatment is what you want out of not only an Ultra, but a Gohan as part of the anniversary. It sounds terrifying. But in terms of a hype release, it definitely is a hype release. So you guys let me know in the comment section below what you think about the release schedule, the potential characters. Don't get mad at me about me saying it could be 2 Ultras. That's not me advocating for it. That's just me pointing out that we could see it given they're upping the release schedule of Ultras. I just think that could be where their thought process is, but maybe I'm completely wrong. I'd love to know what your thoughts are. So let me know in the comment section below. What do you think we're gonna see? And yeah, it's less than 2 weeks away, I believe. And man, what an exciting time. So be on the lookout. If anyone's going to ask me to summon right now, do not summon. Save all your Chrono Crystals. Who the hell cares about Kid Buu? Save your Chrono Crystals because I think 5th year anniversary is going to be insane.